Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 51 of Dreamers and Doers, where I interview people who follow their passion and use it to make the world better. And I think that's you, Sinclair and Saxon. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us, man.
So Sinclair and Saxon are brothers, and I got really interested in something you did recently, which was a 40-day fast, which is pretty impressive for the people who follow me. I do a little bit of fasting, but my maximum is 5 days that I did 2 months ago. So I got really interested in it. We'll dive into the science, the reasons, but we'll start as usual with your story, guys. So what's your story in general, and how did you get into fasting in particular?
So this one generally starts with me because about 11 years ago I got an injury. I was training in the gym. I got a bulging disc, and what should have been a pretty quick recovery ended up taking about 8 or 9 years for me to just even understand what my problem was.
And just for the people listening, this is Sinclair.
Sinclair, yeah. So I'm 31 years of age now. I was 20 at the time. It's been a massive journey since, but sort of long story short, I went down a path of trying to figure out why my body wouldn't heal.
Yeah.
And I realized at about the age of 28 when I went to Bali, and I did a retreat with Tyler Tolman, and he taught me all about toxicity and detoxing.
Okay.
And I learned really quickly. I was like, all right, my body is just really toxic. And I took pictures of my eyes. I learned just by looking at my eyes where the toxicity is, why it's affecting my body in the way that it is.
Okay.
And I learned that the only way for me to really heal is to detox and to get rid of all the waste. And fasting is a really great way to do that. In fact, it's the fastest way that you can do that. So I learned through Tyler that by fasting, my body will not only detox, but it will actually regenerate as well. So I've got damaged tissues in my disc, and I've seen all this in scans. So
in your disc, is that in the spine?
It's in the L5S1.
Okay.
Yeah, my lower spine.
Okay.
Yeah, so which is a really common injury. A lot of people have this injury, and actually a lot of people have it and they don't even know they have it.
Yeah.
They don't have symptoms.
Yeah, I had a flatmate who had this.
Yeah. So I learned about this story, and I'll just tell it because it's very interesting. This lady named Jennifer Richie, she was a marathon runner. She was a pretty accomplished athlete. She had a really bad accident, and she broke her spine. She was a paraplegic. And Tyler's dad, Don, came to her and he said, I'm going to put you on a 40-day water fast. He did, and then he helped her break the fast. And in that process, she went through such a huge detoxification of her entire body and all of the waste and the colon, all of the medication that she'd been taking. She just cleaned her entire body out. And in the process, her spinal cord regenerated, her spine, the bones refused. She made a complete recovery in about 18 months, I think it was. She was out of the wheelchair. She did all her rehab, and she was back to full strength. So I heard that story, and I'm sitting in this classroom listening to Tyler talk, and I'm like, well, I've got a little bit of back pain, some shoulder pain, I've got a bulging disc and all this, and I'm just thinking like, of course I can heal my body. So that's what kind of put me on the path. So I went and did my first fast. He's laughing at me because it's taken forever to tell me the story.
No, keep going.
So I went and I did my first fast about 3 months later.
Yeah.
And it was a really successful fast. I eliminated loads of waste, and within about 11 days I was completely out of pain.
Wow.
And
so you did straight away such a long fast?
I did. I took about 3 months to prepare for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was about 6 months after you met Tyler, though,
It was
right?
3 months.
You sure?
It was in May.
Oh.
And I met him at the end of January.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, so I did this fast, and I had this amazing response, and I was like, okay, this is definitely one of the tools that I'm going to use moving forward. So I started planning another one, and spoke to Saxon about it, and we decided to do it together, and then the whole documentary and everything came from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were living together at the time in LA, and Sinclair went away and did this program with Tyler in Bali, and came back. He was a big meater. One thing he didn't mention was like, on his journey, he went paleo and ate all this meat, and thought that was the way to heal his body, and then came back from this trip completely vegan, completely plant.
Okay.
In the space of 5 days, had transformed into plant based.
Okay.
And he came back. Him and I were living together in LA, and he's like, I'm plant-based now. I think this is the way to fix my body. And he told me about fasting, and I was a bit skeptical at first. I was like, that just sounds like anybody. You grow up thinking you got to eat 3 meals a day. You got to eat all this food all the time to be healthy. So to be told that it's the opposite to be healthy, it's kind of like, I was a bit doubtful and skeptical, but he did this big fast on his own and then finished it and told me he'd fixed his pain, or got out of a lot of his pain. So I started doing a bit of research, and we kind of just started talking. He pitched the idea of a 40-day fast.
Nice.
20 days on water, 20 days on juice, and I jumped on board. And what started as just like, a plan to do 40 days between the two of us ended up turning into a documentary, which we're, almost towards the end of now.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
So how were the 40 days?
The 40 days coming up?
No, how were the 40 days?
It
up
was
and down.
It was tough. You know what? It was tough because we decided to do it in the bush. So Tyler is someone who mentored us through this process. We went over to Bali. We did interviews with him and everything. He really helped us prepare for this, and he had an idea for us to do it out in the bush in a tent and drink from a natural water source. And when you're sitting in your house and you're having a Skype call with him, and you think, it's a great idea.
Sitting in your warm house and your comfortable clothing, and
and then you actually get there and you're like freezing and you.
Was it really cold?
So we did it just after winter. So we did it in Australian time, September, which is obviously the beginning of spring, but still we're getting that cold winter weather.
Yeah, because the 5 days I did was here in winter and doing ice bath, and I feel like when you do the cold, when the environment is cold, it's way harder. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially because the longer you fast, the more fat you lose and the more kind of resistance to the cold you have. Sorry, the less resistance to the cold you have. So you constantly... We would go to bed at night with 3 big hoodie jumpers on, 2 pairs of tracksuit. I'd get into a sleeping bag and then pull a doona over me. And I'd still be there with my beanie on and my hood on, just freezing cold at night. Because our camper was cool, but it didn't really protect us from the wind and the cold. So I think if we were to do it again, we would probably...
Come to Bali.
Yeah, go to Bali, or we'd just go we'd do it in summer.
Yeah.
I think doing it in summer is a must, because the sun's really important. And the sun kind of came and went while we were there.
Nice, yeah, that's what I thought also. I wanted to do 7 days. After 5 days, I was like, okay, I'll do 10 days, but in Bali.
Yeah, it's a smart idea.
Having all your comforts, having sunshine, it's the difference not just between being comfortable in a fast, but it's the difference I think between healing as well, because we don't want to stress our body out while we're fasting. We really want to be as at peace and and that's because we want our adrenal glands to be completely at rest, and when our adrenal glands are at rest, it enables our kidneys to filter. And one of the big things when you fast is you want to filter out all of the lymphatic and acidic waste from the body. But when you're stressed out and you're cold and your body is not at peace, the adrenaline is going and it switches the kidneys off, so you don't filter.
That's super interesting actually, because I guess it's a balance, because you're definitely in the uncomfortable, right? It's going to be hard, especially at times. So how do you balance between you wanting to be a bit of a challenge and not to give up because the body's gonna be like, hey, I want food, of course. So how do you find that balance between pushing but not doing it too much and actually healing?
I think the physiological uncomfortableness is going to be there regardless of where you are. The feelings that you get from fasting is going to happen no matter where you are. If you can provide yourself with a comfortable place with creature comforts within reason, obviously you don't want to sit there and just binge watch Netflix all day. You want to try and be conscious and be present in the moment. But if you can provide a warm bed, warm shower, things like that, I think it will allow your body to sink into the fast and be as comfortable as possible, which will allow your body to dive deeper into the healing process.
I'd also add to that, it's if you're looking for a challenge, don't worry, you'll get one.
Exactly.
It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. So give yourself as much comfort and as much
You shouldn't be doing it for an extreme challenge. That shouldn't be your goal. Your goal should be to heal your mind, body, and soul. Not rather go and be I'm gonna go not eat 20 days in the extreme conditions, because that's a huge challenge. If you do it for that reason, you do it for the wrong reason.
Okay.
So make it as comfortable as you can, because like Sinclair said, it's going to be a challenge regardless of where you are. So.
And you talked about I'm really interested in water recently. Was it important to get a quality source?
Yeah, man.
Our plans kind of went out the door with that one. We were meant to be drinking from this like natural spring water.
Yeah.
This natural spring, getting the water from there, but because they hadn't had much rain lately, we got a call from the guy that worked up there, who we'd been in contact with about having a space on his land. He called us and he's like 2 days before, he's like, look, it's been really dry up here. There hasn't been any rain. Everything's dried out. You know, you might be able to drink from it, but I don't think so. And sure enough, when we got up there, the whole thing that we planned drinking from was dried out. So we ended up bringing a water distiller with us, and putting water in that, distilling the water, and then drinking, putting salt into the water, and drinking from that.
So when you do a water fast, important to keep the salt for the electrolytes, right? That's what I understand.
Yeah, like your body is going into such a heavy form of like acid removal that you want to make sure you've got enough minerals to keep your blood pH at a safe level. So if you don't, then your body's going to start taking calcium out of all the connective tissue. And calcium has a high pH and it's going to balance the blood. But we don't want to force the body to do that. We'd rather just put the minerals in ourselves and you know, give our body the best chance it has of sort of its defense against what's called acidosis. Like one of the big things people always say to you when you go into a fast is like, what about acidosis? And you know, it's an important topic because one of the big things when you fast is the body is trying to remove so much acid, and the acid is corrosive and it's damaging to our body, and it's got a very low pH, so the minerals just help balance the pH. And then of course you want your kidneys to be able to filter and get rid of all that acid.
Colon, skin, everything. You want to release. So there's 4 channels of elimination that we talk about. That being like, you know, pooing, peeing, breathing, as well as your perspiration, you know, sweating through the skin. You want to open up as many, all 4 of those channels as much as you can to allow all the acids to find their way out and to not sit there and plague you inside of your body. So that's a big one there. We had practices we try and do every day. We try and move, we try and as much as possible, like physical movement. We'd do a thing called
Moving
guasha.
Sucked.
Movement became very challenging towards the end. That was like, it's easy. We had a thing called guasha, which is, Sinclair will probably be able to tell you a bit more about this. The bicarb soda and vodka. It helps kind of clean your skin and allow the pores to open up. As well as we were doing colonics, enemas and colonics to keep our colon clear. When plaque and mucus would start to dislodge and get stuck in there.
So you were doing that during the fast?
Yeah. Every like 2 or 3 days we'd do a colonic. And every time was like the tube would just be black. Black, red, yellow, which shows liver, kidney, all of this detox.
Have you heard about the gallbladder and kidney flush?
We've both done that before.
And liver, gallbladder and liver flush. So where you get the green liver
stones.
Have you done that? How was that? Because I was thinking of doing it. A friend of mine recommended.
I definitely got some of those stones you're referring to. Mine wasn't huge. We met a guy in Bali when we finished our fast who did it, and he said he had like a handful, like 80 little gallbladder stones that came out. But he also he had a pretty toxic life, in the years preceding it. So I think he probably had a few more to get rid of. But whether or not it's super beneficial, I'm not sure.
And just to go back on the background, what's a bit been your education? Like, I don't know, are your parents or your environment into spirituality or really into health, or were you like drinking and partying hard?
So we grew up. Our parents owned a gym growing up, so we were always very active. We both were, played a lot of rugby. As well as both very sporty and so physically very, I would say, healthy in terms of like the outer external physical body. We're both in good shape. But internally, probably Sinclair more so. We both took drugs when we were kids. We both, started drinking at a young age. Him even more so. I was like 15. You were like 12. And both started taking like ecstasy and cocaine at a very young age, and continued that for a little while. which obviously took its toll on our body. And
Well, yeah, like the irony of it is that is the reason that I ended up needing to fast. It's one of the big reasons, is because I spent so many years filling my body up with the wrong things and just destroying my body. So eventually, my body started to shut down. That's why I didn't heal. It's why I got a bulging disc, and that's why I didn't heal from the bulging disc, because my body was so full of inflammation and toxic waste and just all of this stuff that was just suppressing and damaging my body. So I learned that I've got to clear all that out, and then my body will regenerate.
Nice.
And it has, like, that started, but it's a process, because you spend so many years putting this stuff in, and it takes longer than like a 20-day water fast to heal yourself. We're all quite toxic.
Do you want to go a bit into the science? So recently, intermittent fasting has been really popular and like trendy. I heard, some people like longer fast can be more controversial.
Yeah.
So I think we could couple like what's the science and maybe what's a good way to get started on it for people who listen.
Yeah.
So knowing that none of us here gives you medical advice.
Yeah. Let's make that
If you
clear.
do anything, you do it under your own.
We are simply
pretenses.
sharing the knowledge that we have accumulated.
Yeah.
But we did not come up with it. We did not do it ourselves.
We take no responsibility.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing, I guess, a question we get asked a lot is how long you can fast for. How long is safe? Most people.
Because there are these breatharian movement.
Yeah, exactly. You hear about these people.
They don't need to eat.
Yeah, I've heard
but some
about
of
these
them
people.
die too.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard that. Let's we'll scratch that bit. But yeah, like a lot of people, I think there's, especially me, before I heard fasting, I was like, you can't go more than a few days without food. Everybody knows what it's like.
It's a belief game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, everybody knows what it's like to be hungry, and you think, oh, it's only going to get worse, so surely I'm going to get sick and die and whatever. But so our mentor, Tyler, told us of a study that was done. It's called Hull Biological Laboratories at University of Chicago. And they did a study where they got X amount of people, I'm not entirely sure of the number, all of a kind of standard health by, the medical standards. They all had like, a necessary amount of like vitamins, minerals, and nutrient levels. And they put them into a controlled water fast and wanted to see how long they could last before they had any nutrient deficiencies, or their muscle started to catabolize, which means they started to eat into its own lean muscle tissue. And they weren't entirely sure. I think the people going in thought they were going to be in there for about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And they were going to see this. They were going to go as long as they.
Because they were being paid.
They were being paid. Yeah, that's important as well. They were being paid to be there. And anyway, the first person started showing signs of nutrient deficiencies at 90 days.
90.
Yeah, 90.
90.
Yeah, it's 90 days of fasting in a
Wow.
controlled environment of a standard weight. These guys aren't like, they weren't super heavy or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was 90 days before their bodies started to actually have like negative side effects.
Wow.
So yeah, we can go a lot longer without food than people think.
Yeah, because people would think I'm starting to lose, all these nutrients.
Yeah,
and it's bad for me.
absolutely.
I
I'm
mean,
starting to feel sick and.
Like when I fast for 5 days, I definitely lose weight.
Yeah.
I'm a bit afraid to lose muscle, for example, because there's a bit of work.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Cinco and I have spoken about that. Like, we obviously lost a fair bit of muscle. We got very thin at the end of the 20 days. But at the end of the day, you can rebuild muscle. You've got the rest of your life, depending on obviously how old you are, but muscle, and especially it's a vanity thing. Like, we don't want to lose muscle because we want to look good.
Well,
and
you
like
want to be
in shape.
strong too.
Of course,
Yeah,
but the thing is, like, that can all come back.
Yeah.
You can once you start eating, it will naturally start to come back.
Yeah.
And the more you move, whatever form of exercise you do, whether it be in the gym, whether it be like bike riding or whatever, you can slowly start to get back into that and slowly start to build your muscle, your body back. Like within 6 months, Sinclair and I were both back to our regular sizes. If anything, we're probably a bit heavier.
Okay.
Because we
Overate.
We overate a little bit. So once we started being able to again, we'll get back into that later. But we didn't lose a dangerous amount of muscle, and it didn't take us that long to put it back on. Yet we still we got rid of so much crap inside of our body. So the benefits far outweigh the negatives, like losing muscle or losing size or something like that. So I think it's for anyone listening, it's a short term loss that can easily be regained.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like when you go through the process of detoxification,
Yeah.
you completely reset your body's ability to digest food, absorb food, utilize food, and then eliminate food.
Yeah.
So when you start again after a fast, you're already in a better position to build muscle. Your whole endocrine system's been reset after 10 days of water fasting. Your endocrine system is what produces all of your growth hormone,
Testosterone.
and your body's ability to digest food. So you're really doing yourself a favor. It's a small sacrifice to make for a much bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about, we're not even, if you're going into a fast purely for an aesthetic reason, then you're missing the big picture as well.
Exactly.
Because
You shouldn't be doing that.
the big picture is about, like, you know, living your best life, and fasting clears out all of the darkness and makes way for the light. And the darkness is the plaque and the parasites and the acid and all of the waste that's been bogging you down and killing your energy and killing your zest for life, and your, you know, kind of like suppressing your personality in a big way.
Yeah.
Like so many of us, and you see it in the street all the time, you see the shit people eat, and you see how their body is really struggling with it, and all of the sickness and the suffering in the world. You see all of that. It's so obvious. And it's really like we're all kind of operating at like 30%, you know.
Yeah.
No one's operating at 100%. And fasting is a way to clear all that out so we can realize our potential. That's what it's about.
It's interesting actually, because earlier in that episode I talked about fasting being trendy, but like it's been around in spirituality and in religions for thousands of years, and even when we were animals, we weren't eating 3 meals a day, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like fasting
So it's
throughout
very
history
natural.
as, like, you know, practice where people consciously go without food is really as old as we are. Like, you know, you think you got ancient Greeks like Pythagoras, Hippocrates, and all these, like Aristotle, all the major Greek philosophers all fasted. You know, one for health reasons, but also for mental clarity, and like, you know, they do it for mental efficiency. And then, you know, you go look at the religious part. You look at Jesus Christ. You look at Moses, who apparently all fasted for 40 days. But I think, you know, even without doing it consciously, like, we fast when we don't have access to food. And before we had supermarkets, before we had like all these readily available sources of food, we fasted subconsciously because we didn't have a choice. So it's innately in our DNA to do that. And despite the fact that many people think that you have to wake up and eat first thing because otherwise you won't have energy, like, you imagine waking up, you know, 10,000 years ago, if there were human beings, I'm just going to scratch up on my history.
It had been a while.
Do scratch that.
There's no editing.
It's
all
no
raw.
editing.
I'm out. No, but I'm saying, like, if you were to wake up and, you know, not have access to food, and yet you had to eat for energy, it's like we would have died off a long time ago, you know, because it wasn't just always there ready to eat.
Actually, it's interesting. I listened to an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast with Matthew Walker, who's like the sleep specialist. And I'm big on food and nutrition. I'm also big on sleep. And he says, actually, be careful with fasting because you have that reaction from evolution that tells you, don't sleep. You gotta go hunting because
survive,
you need food. So how did you guys sleep? And did you feel it really impaired your ability to sleep?
I don't think you need as much sleep, whether or not that's like a sort of survival mechanism, keeping you awake and alert so you can go out and hunt. Maybe probably to a degree. I think you also just don't need as much sleep because your body doesn't have to digest as much.
True.
You don't have
Doesn't
the
need as
kind
much
of
recovery.
Like, I can kind of I think I can compare it well because I did a fast where I was by myself and I was comfortable in an apartment, and I would sleep soundly through the night. I actually, for the first time in a very long time, would actually sleep through the whole night. I would normally always wake up multiple times. I'd wake up to take a piss. This time I would sleep soundly. But after about 10 days, it started to set in like that. When I went back to eating again afterwards, I started to wake up again to piss, and I know why. It's got to do with like inflammation and acidity and these things. But when we fasted in the mountain, like, sleeping was really hard, but that's because we were freezing.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't comfortable.
No, it wasn't comfortable.
There were very few times during the fast, during the 20 days. Like, where we were truly comfortable. And it was mainly when the sun was out, middle of the day, we'd be lying down on like a little mat and just lying in the sun, or sitting on a chair.
Teaches you gratitude.
Yeah, massive lessons in gratitude.
It's there weren't like many times. Sometimes sitting around the fire was nice, but again, it was just cold. Like you were sitting around there, not to enjoy the fire, but like rather to get warmth, just because we were so cold. And then suddenly it's time to go to bed. It's like, oh great, away from the warmth into the cold, no protection. But again, there were lots of lessons to be learnt, and
nice,
very enjoyable.
So now, to be pragmatic, how do you advise people to get started? It's funny because what we talk about being in the uncomfortable and pushing the limits of the human body is, I don't know if you know the Wim Hof method, but that makes me think a bit of an equivalent with Wim Hof going in those cold conditions. But obviously how he advises to get started is to start finishing your shower with cold water and going gradually. So do you feel like anyone could, with good preparation, or most people could go into a more intense, longer fast, or starting more with like skipping a meal, doing a day, doing 2 days?
There's certainly people we would not advise to fast. Anyone who's pregnant or breastfeeding, we always advise not to. That's what we've been taught. Obviously when you're carrying life inside of you, you want to feed that life as much as possible, especially when you're breastfeeding as well. We're very careful with people with eating disorders. Anyone who has a poor relationship with food. I think it's best to kind of get a better relationship with food, or be able to overcome that before you want to try and do any extent.
Don't you think the fast could be a solution?
It definitely could, but at the same time, it also could have an opposite effect where this person just goes like, I'm gonna continue to go with that food because I don't like the way I look or whatever. Like
it's the breaking of the fast. I think for someone with an eating disorder would be really challenging, because when you break the fast, your instinct is just to eat and eat as much as you can. So I don't know what someone with an eating disorder, how they would respond, but I think
which eating disorder you're talking about is important. Like someone who overeats, they need to be very careful.
But someone who's let's say for a common person that doesn't have eating disorder.
I think everybody's capable of it. But again, I think preparing for it and what we were talking about before, wrapping your head around, progressing bit by bit. You start with intermittent fasting, 16 hours of fasting with an 8 hour eating window, and then just slowly start to shorten that, make those fasts a little bit longer.
Have you tried keto?
We're familiar with it. It's not something
I did it actually for about 6 months. Because when I was paleo, I was really big into like grass-fed meats and ghee and pasta.
Because during the fast, you're in ketosis, right? So I heard that the way to prepare was to start being in ketosis through a ketogenic diet.
So like they're really different. Like nutritional ketosis and fasting ketosis is so different. You really don't want to be eating any animal products before you go into a water fast, because when all of the digestive system shuts down and you've got like chicken wings and T-bone steak and your eggs and all this stuff in there just like rotting, and that's what'll happen. It'll start rotting
because there's nothing to push it through. The digestive system shuts down. There's no longer any fiber coming from outside sources to push it through. Sits in your colon, sits in your intestinal tract, rots, and essentially starts to pollute you from the inside out.
So what's the best way to eat before a fast?
We were strictly a plant-based diet.
Oranges.
So, for the people listening, we've been eating oranges.
We had a strictly plant-based diet for the last few months. And then,
are you fully plant-based? The whole time?
And then probably in the last 6 weeks, 2 months, it was like 90% fruit. So just eating hydrating foods that are going to really clean you out. The cleaner you are before you go into the fast.
Fruits more than vegetables.
Fruits are more detoxifying than vegetables. So they start the detoxifying process. Like a little side note, like eating a fruit-based diet is in a big way similar to a water fast, in that it detoxifies the body very effectively. Obviously, a water fast is a lot deeper, and you get effects during a water fast that you wouldn't get in a fruit fast. But
have you tried dry fasting too? Like a few days without water?
I've never done. I've done a day.
I've done
24 hours.
I did a day too.
Get me out of here. It was brutal. Gets very challenging, but it's a great way to get your kidneys to filter.
That's definitely one where it's really important to not have anything to do. Like water fasting, I think you can still achieve day-to-day things, especially early on. You know, you can. I water fast. I did a 5-day water fast when I was living in Chicago, and I went to work every day.
Yeah.
And I train people as a personal trainer, and I think if you're dry fasting, you don't want to be doing that because it's like you lose pretty energy and mental clarity pretty quickly. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. You may potentially do more damage.
So to go back to the preparation, mainly fruits.
Yeah. Mainly fruits. Yeah.
The deeper level of cleaning you do before, the more quickly and deeper you can dive into the detox.
And that's even if I do like a 3-day fast, you would do like a day or two of fruits before.
Yeah, I think 1 or 2 days would help. I don't think
you technically could go from eating like pizza and hot chips and burgers into a 3-day fast. If you're going to do it, well, you would feel the difference. You'd be very uncomfortable, and but I wouldn't recommend doing that at all.
Yeah.
But I think you could do it and survive. If you wanted to do a 20-day water fast and you ate pizzas, burgers, and all this shit, and then jumped to 20 days, you'd be really uncomfortable after like 5, 10, 15 days because this stuff wouldn't move.
Okay.
At least after 3 days, you go back to eating food and then you move it. But it's really eating the fruit is just a really great way to build the blood and clean the body out at the same time.
And on top of the cleaning, what I understand with fasting is that it promotes autophagy, like renewing your cells. Do you want to talk about that?
So this is actually something I was looking at last night, just knowing I was going to be here today. I solidified my knowledge of it. So in 2014, I believe it was, a research scientist called Walter Longo, he conducted an experiment. He was trying to see the benefits that fasting could have on chemotherapy. So he was putting people under extended water fast. And what he actually saw is that firstly, in 3 days' time, our bodies would completely reset their immune systems. All the old damaged white blood cells would be deconstructed and replaced with brand new cells. So it was like we had a brand new immune system after 3 days. And what he also saw is that once the body went into full fasting ketosis, that when our bodies would process the ketones, they would produce what's called an embryonic-like stem cell.
Just to tell people, when you're in ketosis, tell me if I'm wrong, but basically usually you get your energy from the glucose, and because you don't have glucose, your body produces something called ketones to give you energy.
So the first few days, usually the first 24 hours, your body runs on its glycogen stores, which is stored in the liver, which your body then converts into glucose, which is what our main primary source of fuel is, of energy. But after we run out of that, after it's taken its stores from the liver and from the muscles, it'll then turn its attention towards our fat storage, which is fat is essentially a backup storage for energy. That's what we store it for. And it'll then use those fat storages for energy, converting it to ketones, which it'll then send out to the rest of the body as its energy. But once you've been in an extended fast for 3 to 5 days plus, when we produce or process these ketones, it produces what's called an embryonic-like stem cell. This is what the guy realized in his experiment. And they have, pluripotency?
Pluripotency, yeah.
Which means that they can go anywhere through the body, through the bloodstream, and replace any cell at all in the body and replenish it.
It's huge.
So it could essentially, Sinclair talked about Jennifer Richie, who regenerated her spine, had a severed spinal cord, was told she'll never walk again, and through fasting, through this process of autophagy, was able to completely regenerate a spine, which has never been able to be done. And in theory, you can regenerate anything in the body. I don't want to say like internal organs and stuff like that, but in theory,
Well, you can. There are people that are doing it.
Exactly.
Like the medical system even knows, like the liver is one of the easiest organs to regenerate. So the knowledge is there to a degree, but this guy, Dr. Robert Morse, is someone who I've been following very closely for the last 6 months, and I'm going to Florida in October. I'm doing an interview with him.
Nice.
And he's amazing, and like he will tell you that he has many cases all around the world that have regrown everything. Like you can, as long as your body is still alive, like if you take your brain out, maybe not, but the body has the ability to regenerate anything, so, and it's this process that Saxon's talking about that's backed by science now. I think we're on the cusp of this information getting out to the world. It's just very slow, and there's a lot of There's a lot of opposition.
Why do you think? Because there's so much science behind it. Why do you think
it's not mainstream?
Your average doctor doesn't tell you to fast when you're sick?
I think it's something it's a controversial topic.
Yeah.
The doctors all learn from a higher power. They all learn from one source. And I think that higher power doesn't want anybody to know this because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't monetize it. You can't go, hey, you go fast on water for 40 days, but pay me 40 grand that you would have paid me for those medical bills.
That's an answer I hear a lot. Like same when I interview people who got spontaneous remission through breath work, for example. It's way harder to sell breathing than
of course.
pills.
All money, man.
It's $1 trillion industry, and it's like it's all based on the idea. It's like fix them enough and make them feel just good enough that they still have to come back to you, but they think you're doing them good. Treat the symptoms, don't treat the problem.
But you know what? It's worthwhile saying. It's like in the medical industry, there are a lot of people. Most doctors are, great people with great intentions. But like we were saying, it's actually the pharmaceutical companies that write the syllabus that gets taught to the doctors. So doctors get taught about symptomology, then they get taught about diagnosis, and then prescription of medication. So it's not, which means
they're not evil. Like
they're not
trying
evil
to do their
people.
best, but they've been brainwashed.
This is what they've been taught. What's challenging with Saxon and I is when we go to see a doctor and we mention to them what we do and our beliefs. I can understand that it's challenging for them to accept, but there's a real block there. Like their ego, a lot of them just can't accept, and they just think we're crazy. And it's like, well,
as a doctor who is who learned all this back in the day and spent a lot of time learning. It's not like you just go to uni for a couple of years. It's like it's the longest degree you can do to be a medical doctor. I think. Anyway, like they do this because they want to help people, and then we're here bringing them like an alternative that may still be able to help people, and yet they're not interested in learning it. They're not interested in seeing our view, hearing what we have to say. It's just we're idiots, and we're one of those quacks who just come in with this crazy idea and we're going to hurt people, despite the fact that fasting, like we said, has been around for the beginning of time. Exactly.
I mean, then it goes into people creating an identity around something and just shutting down and closing their mind.
I think there's also a little bit of like there's a pride about being I shouldn't say this because whatever. Like, well, being a doctor and going 8 years in medical training, you get out of that and you're
people hold doctors.
You're an accomplished individual. You have a title that is well respected, and all of a sudden you got these two guys coming to your office who are personal trainers, and they're like, "Nah, man, like go and do a water fast, and you can heal cancer, and you can reverse your every condition under the sun." And it's like, who the hell
it's like our information's coming from secondhand sources that we've listened to and we've learned from. We're fully aware of what. It looks like us promoting all this stuff with little, not a whole lot of training. But again, I think if you look, there is science to back it. And I think there's also a level of kind of logic and common sense involved.
And experience. Like we're doing the work and we're seeing the difference. And we're like, since we've been making this documentary, we've interviewed people that have healed themselves from colon and liver cancer and hepatitis C,
Lyme disease, diabetes, all these different things. Like,
but even science, it's not neutral because the studies that get financed and pushed are the ones that are able to generate money. So it's interesting. Like a month ago, I was in Bali to something called the World Health Sovereignty Summit, and it's about all these cures that got shut down because they were threatening a whole industry. I won't go into it now, but it's a bit of when you look into it and you get kind of. You become conscious of it. It's a bit.
People are disappearing. Like it's real.
One thing I've always found strange about when I go to see a doctor as well, it's that you are there giving me professional and the best advice possible on how to be healthier. But you yourself are sitting there, and majority of the times I've found my doctors have always sat there with giant big bellies and really age damaged skin, and they don't look healthy. Whatever they're doing is not working for themselves, so why should I take your advice when whatever you're doing, again, of course that doesn't speak for everybody, but in my experiences, a doctor who is going to be promoting health should be practicing that health on themselves. And clearly
I think just the message for people is to take responsibility for your health, because the society is not doing it.
Exactly. We're getting more and more sick every year as a Western society.
The name of our documentary, just to give it a little plug, is Fasting the Healer Within. We all have a healer within. We are our own healer. No one else is going to heal you. You heal yourself.
Yeah, and you have it through all these practices that are so simple, but it can be breath work, can be fasting, it can be meditation, but it's hard to make money out of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys know Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
I know, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah,
he's
I'm
big on
familiar.
healing through meditation and through changing your beliefs.
The energetics of the body.
I guess belief is a big thing for fasting, because I feel like, so when I started doing 1 day of fasting, I would have like my family and people around me. Oh, you're gonna be so bad. You're gonna be so sick. Same with the cold. You go in the cold. If your belief is I'm gonna get sick, you get sick. And suddenly I start watching Wim Hof. I start watching you guys, and I'm like, no, actually. A week fasting is not a lot. And then when I'm like this, I'm actually feeling great. Well, when I'm surrounded by people who are all like, oh, you must be so weak, why? Then I feel weak. So how much do you feel is kind of objective science on how you feel, and how much is belief?
Are you familiar with the documentary that's out recently called Heal on Netflix?
No.
So I think you'd enjoy it just based on what you're talking about now. There's been they've done studies on your brain's signals that it sends to its cells all in the body, like negative signals send negative, like have negative responses in your cells. So essentially saying, like, if you've heard of the placebo effect. So it's the same thing. It's like, if you think positively, your cells will respond positively and give out positive energy. And positive health, positive benefits.
How much do you think you can push it? Like, if you believe you don't need to eat for 2 years, do you think that's possible?
Or
when do you?
That's a hard one. I don't know. Like, I think your intention and your willpower play a huge role when you're talking about something like fasting. They're the difference between someone, I think, who can really get to the finish line and someone who won't. In terms of how much impact they have on your actual healing. Like a Joe Dispenza is a really good example of someone who's kind of proving that through the power of the mind, you can encourage the body to regenerate, and you can have an actual physical effect.
Were you saying Joe Dispenza or Jodie Spencer?
Joe Dispenza.
Is that who you were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jodie Spencer. I was like, I got no idea who that is.
Hey, pardon my French.
Keep up.
Continue.
It's a good blooper reel with you in it.
There's a couple. In between absolute nuggets.
But I think like an interesting thing to kind of touch on there is like when you go into a fast, your intention and your why, like WHY, is so important. It's everything. Like it's the reason you do it. It's the difference between like seeing it through and getting through the hardest moments.
I was going to say, getting through the hard parts, your why is your most important thing. You've got all these different outside influences, these negative thoughts in your mind going, break it. You've done enough, you've succeeded, you've done well. And then suddenly you've got that little lingering thought, you're going, fuck that. Like, I'm here for a reason, I set myself this goal. That ends up being your most important voice, and the one you listen to.
So you get those ups and downs.
Absolutely.
Because I get them too. I get like, it's okay. You're getting weak. So last time I was meant to do 7 days. I was like, well, I'm actually doing sports and and I was like, maybe I'm getting weak. I'm losing my muscle. Why do you do it?
Well, because there's another thing we could touch on is like when you fast, you have what's called healing crises. And they're like, times during your fast where your body will start to have negative effects. Like, you might have diarrhea, you might break out in like a rash. You could have lots of different things. You could just start to feel really, really unwell. And obviously there will be times when potentially that's a sign to break the fast, but often that's just your body getting rid of shit. It's literally just pushing stuff out through the skin. It's pushing shit out the back door. You're vomiting, you're sick, you got a fever. Those aren't necessarily always signs to break the fast, but rather it's your sign of the body.
That's working.
That you're getting rid of stuff.
It's important to be able to differentiate though. Because if you do have a situation that's dangerous, you need to understand that it is dangerous and break the fast. So that's why it's useful to do the research, work with a guy, someone who knows what they're doing, fasting mentor or something like that. And
we talked, that's a good segue because we talked about the health and now we started a bit about the beliefs. When I fast, for me, it's quite a bit of a willpower exercise. So we talked about the why for health, for willpower, for me it's also to appreciate food and gratitude, because it's the best meal then when you break it. And also a spiritual practice that we see a lot. So are all these part of your why?
Definitely. Like, it was mainly physical for me. I didn't really understand what spirituality was until I did my first fast, actually. And fasting puts you into such a state of like contemplation and like introspection, and you just thinking constantly, if you do it the right way. Like, if you remove yourself from all the distractions, all of your addictions, you know, food is the big one, but then we've got like social media, we've got people, we've got sex, we've got just addictive behaviors. You remove yourself from all of that, and all you're left with is yourself and your thoughts. And it's like the most it's the highest level of self-discovery I think that you can really get.
Self-reflection, like, you know, again, I had no idea. I again went in for complete physical reasons. I was like, you know, I'm going to prevent disease, because I don't have any, like, you know, Sinclair's got an injury that he's trying to fix, lots of chronic pain in his body. I didn't have that. I didn't have anything glaringly obvious that I was trying to fix. So I didn't have any expectations, especially not from like the spiritual element. But going in there after, like, you know, probably 5 days, especially towards the end, you've got like things from your past that are popping up. You've got a lot of like repressed, you know, pain and suffering that you've had in the past that you haven't dealt with, and you've got to sit there and you've got to go through it, what you didn't go through back, you know, however long it was ago. So
what were you doing all day during 40 days?
Mate, trying to sit out in the sun. You know, there were days, because we were filming a documentary, we were there were days where we had like shooting, like, you know, camera days where we're doing interviews and stuff, but
not doing much.
No, for the most part, man. Like, we were trying to go for walks, and we're trying to explore a little bit, but the longer the fast went on, the less of that we were doing. But we had days where it would rain all day, so we'd sit in the camper and we would literally like sit there and we'd read books, we'd talk, we'd lie down. But again, like, you know, we weren't sleeping much, so you're constantly thinking, your mind's constantly racing. At one point I was sitting there and, you know, I was looking out over, we were sitting up in this really nice, like, you know, rolling mountain ranges, and I was sitting there overlooking all this beautiful natural greenery, and I was like contemplating our purpose as human beings, as a species, and as, like, you know, on this planet. And my mind was racing. I think I almost figured it out. Like, you know, I was really diving deep into it, and I was loving it, man. Like, I think, like, I have a degree in philosophy, so I like to think about those things, but even more so while you're fasting, it's like your mind just was hungry for that kind of knowledge.
And so you see the patterns of your mind.
You just think with like crystal clear clarity. It makes me think
of, I did Vipassana.
I've done that.
So it's a 10-day silent retreat. When you talk about that, it makes me think of my Vipassana retreat.
I'm sure it's probably similar. Again, like, add no distractions, and I mean, shit, you really have no distractions in that one.
I think it's like, you know, we've all heard of this saying, like, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And when you fast, you take away all the physical distractions, and all you're left with is, I think, a really deeper connection to your spiritual self. And it's hard to describe. It's one of those things that you really got to go and do for yourself and experience, because I think it's also a different experience for every person. Spirituality isn't, I don't think it's uniform. It's not the same thing for everybody. But when you go into a fast, it becomes very obvious.
I think, I mean, the perspective you get on your day-to-day life, you know, I know Sinclair and I both came back from the fast, and we're both kind of looking around at, you know, our lifestyle, and surrounded just by material possessions, shallow people, and we're like, is this it? Is this really like what we're here to be doing? Is this the life that we were born to live? You know, there's obviously a whole lot more to your day-to-day life, and your existence on this planet than waking up at, you know, 6 a.m, go to work, come home. Like, what a horrible way to spend your life, to not experience whatever this planet, whatever this earth can provide for you, you know. And I don't know what the hell it is, but it's like, I sure as hell am more interested in
fasting's one way to discover it.
It's exactly.
Like, if you don't know what, so many people are trying to figure out what their purpose is in life. In a big way, fasting helped me discover my purpose, which was huge for me, you know. It just so happened that fasting is, you know, a part of it, because my purpose is to help other people heal. And it might not be that for everybody, but fasting gives you the opportunity to dive into who you are and discover. Like, it's that's what it is. It's self-discovery, and it's physical healing. But even if you had nothing wrong with you to heal, nothing physical, you could still do a fast and get so much from it.
I mean, we all have things. Big or small.
Emotional and spiritual. Take the physical out of it. I mean, physical's great, but I mean, just for the emotional and spiritual element of it, it'd be very worthwhile to embark on a fast.
So exciting. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's why I'm so happy to share this.
Yeah, man.
Have you got any plans to do a longer fast?
Yeah, and I'm super pumped about it. I'm like, okay, next time I'm in Bali, I'll do probably 10 days.
Yeah.
Nice. Water and a bit of salt.
Yeah.
Yes, mate. Sunshine, lots of sunshine, and a warm bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
Those would be my.
I plan to do it like keep working and surfing and keeping these activities. So do you think that's?
I think eventually you'll probably you won't do any of that.
I don't know about surfing.
After sort of fight, who knows?
Good like paddling out to the back. Mate, on day 10.
Last time
if you can surf after 10 days, mate, I'll give you.
If you can stand up on a surfboard.
In Bali, I did 4 days and I was surfing every day.
Wow.
But that was 4 days.
You know, up until 10 days, I think you probably could.
Yeah.
It was around days.
Just tell me I can, because it's just a belief.
You got this, man.
You can do it.
If you tell me I can do it,
well, just in our experience, around day 15 was when it really started to get tough with me. Like, you know, and I know Sinclair as well. Like, the legs get heavy, and from the research I've done, it's because a lot of your toxins are being taken through your bloodstream, especially from the legs. They get a little bit heavy, and it's like getting around was like having cinder blocks on your feet. You know, it was intense, but again. Still very rewarding mentally, just physically it became more and more challenging as time went on.
And there's just one thing where, like in the pragmatic side we didn't talk about, is how to break the fast. Because that's super important.
Yeah, it's really important.
It's like more important than the fast itself in a lot of ways.
And arguably more challenging, because it's like when you fast, it's black and white. You know, it's either you're eating or you're not eating. It's as simple as that. But when you break the fast, suddenly you have access to, especially we did juice, but if you're going to go straight to eating food, it's like suddenly if you don't put a plan in place and you don't have put a few restrictions on your plan on yourself, you have access to hundreds and thousands of different things that you have been dreaming about eating for 20 days, and then suddenly it's all just in front of you with pretty much, man.
Oh, mate.
2 days afterwards, Sinclair and I in Bali went to this restaurant. Plant-based restaurant, so for the most part, good food.
Beautiful food.
And delicious. And we were between the two of us, after having already an entree and main each, we had 5 desserts between the two of us after not eating for 40 days. And to say that
we left there like sick,
unbearable. I felt like my stomach was literally, if you took like a pin and popped it, if it was going to be like a balloon, it was that full. So a plan in place is really important.
That's why we did the juice.
Take it slow, If you don't do juice, fruit is definitely, start with fruit, finish with fruit in terms of like preparing and breaking.
Because my 5-day I did like a couple of weeks ago, I stopped with vegetable broth and a bit of a few vegetables, which I thought was quite good. But maybe I had too much too quickly, because I had a big pain in the chest.
Perhaps
for a day, like it went away, but like
I think the longer you fast, the kind of rule of thumb is the longer you fast, the longer you have to spend breaking it properly. Because the longer your digestive system is shut down for, the more it's going to take to like kick back into gear and like the less stress you want to put on it initially.
And so with fruits, and I hear watermelon usually because
it's the best. One, it's delicious
to digest,
and it's you want to be eating like hydrating fruits that are easy for the body to handle. It's almost like you're drinking water in a sense. Your watermelon, your papaya, any melons, honeydew, rock melon. I love all of them. So but I mean, like, again, fruit as a whole is pretty good. Maybe like your bananas and stuff, leave them for a few days, but.
And what do you eat normally the days you're not eating, like in terms of portion, or do you eat less than?
You mean like in a day-to-day life?
Yeah.
I eat pretty normal portions now. Like I eat predominantly fruit still. I'll probably eat like 80% fruit. And
even in winter, because I hear sometimes.
I usually eat
summer
fruit.
Diet. Okay.
And then I'll have maybe a raw salad or a cooked dinner at night. Sinclair's diet's a little bit different.
Yeah, I've been like mainly like 90% fruit based.
Okay.
That's in lead up to the fast, but it's also something I've been experimenting with as my regular diet, because I've been learning so much about how healing and detoxifying it is. And I kept thinking I had to keep fasting to heal my body, and I realized that I could do it on a fruit-based diet, and a lot of people are actually just healing themselves by eating fruit, and they're not even fasting at all. So that was really interesting for me to find out. So. And I actually feel better. Like I feel better on fruit. I feel much lighter, more alert. Like as soon as I eat cooked foods or heavy foods, it slows my cognitive function. Just slows me down.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure you know what it's like when you eat a really big meal, especially if it's like Are you plant-based?
Yeah.
Well, did you ever eat meat?
Yeah,
Once
yeah. I
upon a
became
time, yeah.
plant-based like 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay, same with me.
Gradually. Yeah.
But I'm sure you know it's like after you eat like a big steak or a big heavy like, you know, Christmas meal or whatever it is. It's like afterwards, like you can barely move. You're just full. It's like your body is turning all its attention to now digesting that food and like, you know, clearing it through the body, and it has no attention, no energy to turn towards anything else. So on a fruit diet especially, it's like your body doesn't have to put that much energy into digesting it. And yeah, you feel very light and feel very energetic.
Nice. And do you feel it helps you? For example, I know I'm a bit addicted to food, and even though I eat very healthy food, I have that tendency to not have the willpower I wish. Do you feel those fasts helped with your willpower? Or because for me, when I finish a fast, usually the weeks after, actually my willpower towards food is not that great.
We're the exact same. Okay. So like, to be honest, man, like afterwards, we got back to our regular weight and then put weight on. Like we didn't get fat, but like
we turned into absolute monsters. Like everybody knew they'd watch us. It's like, are you still eating? Man.
For the people listening to the podcast, they're like very, very fat.
We're huge.
You can see the video.
But it's like I would be eating, I'd be full, but I didn't want to stop. You know, like I remember one particular occasion. And I never used to eat that much, but now I love food more than I ever have. There was one particular occasion where I had like a big dinner. I was full, or after that, but then I had fruit salad after that. Was like unbearably full, and was like, I need more. So I went and made 8 pieces of peanut butter and honey toast.
Peanut butter, that's my
peanut butter. That's about 8 pieces after having 2 giant meals before. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, I can't move. I
you can't even sit up.
I'm like, sitting up hurts. Like, this is me for the next 4 hours.
So it takes more than a 40-day fast to override all those programming from evolution that eat.
Yeah, I actually think one realization I've had is I think we're all like massive emotional eaters. I think just food in general is like a coping mechanism for us.
It's a filler, I find. It's like for me as well, like if I'm sitting at home and I'm doing some work, I'm watching TV, it just seems in my head sometimes more enjoyable just to eat something while I'm doing it, you know, for flavor, but also because it's just like kind of common practice to sit there and like, you know, have some fruit or have some chips.
Yeah, and usually that's going to be something maybe emotionally, you know. Like so usually when I want to eat, I try to, I think that's good advice, try to stop myself and be like, why I'm not hungry? Why do I want? Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I feel lonely? Is it because I'm sad? What am I trying to cope with?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think you find like most of the time you're not hungry. You're probably maybe dehydrated or something. Have a glass of water and you're like, I'm not hungry anymore. But yeah, so I've certainly learnt about myself that I'm a very emotional eater. And fasting, you know, it's you think fasting is going to fix that. Fasting in a big way actually turns you into like more of a, I don't want to say emotional eater, but it did create for Saxon and I a food addiction, and it was something that it took a long time to kind of get over. So that's one big part of the documentary that we really want to talk about, is like, it's not just about doing your 40 days, it's about like making sure that you have a plan in place to not just undo all the good work by just, you know, stuffing your face constantly.
And is the documentary out?
No. No. So we've done almost all the filming.
Yeah.
We've got almost all the footage, barring 1 or 2 interviews.
Okay.
But then we need to raise a little bit more money.
Okay.
Because at the moment it's all been self-funded.
Yeah.
Myself and especially Sinclair have been putting all the funds towards the camera crew and, you know, editing for the trailer, things like that. But at this stage we need to raise a bit of money.
As we said, it's hard to monetize fasting.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone out there sees benefit in this and sees, you know, some potential, we would love your help.
On camera.
Not bad. We still need to finish the final edit of the film.
Yeah.
So
we're hoping to have it out by about March next year. Yeah, and then when we do, if we can't get it onto like a Netflix or an HBO or something, then we're going to try then we will take it around Australia and we'll do a tour, which we want to do anyway, actually, because it would just be cool, and I think a great way to really like get the message out. So we'll do a screening in Sydney, and then we'll start traveling and do it all around the city, all around the world, I should say.
And how can people follow you?
So they can follow us on our Instagram, which is at fasting the healer within, all one word.
Yeah. www.fastingthehealerwithin.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is our website. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been updating that for over a year now. There's plenty of we documented the entire fast. We did a video every day, where we spoke to the camera about how we're feeling, what we've been feeling that day, and how the day had been. So if you want to go back over there, if you're interested in the fast and what it was like, there's plenty of footage to go and check out. And that smells fantastic, by the way. Whoever's cooking. Continue on.
So when we go to take it to France, you can help us out, and we'll do a screening in Paris.
Yeah, with
Sound
pleasure.
good?
I mean, I spend more time in Australia or in Bali than in France.
Okay,
but
but you know your way around.
I can help you
And you speak
wherever
French.
you are. Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So it's been an hour, a bit longer than the usual podcast, but
Yeah.
it's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah,
so
awesome,
if you have a bit more time, we can even keep going a bit.
I actually have to go. I've got an appointment.
Okay.
So I have to get home. I mean, I could probably go for another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Our parking's finished about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, did it?
Not that I'm...
Just one question quickly. What do you want your impact in the world to be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I want people to be able to be in control of their health. It's never sat well with me that people sit in fear that they might be the unlucky one to get cancer or to get a disease that they're told that they can't cure. It's not a nice life to sit there and just suddenly be struck down with something that you are in fact in control of fixing. So I would like everybody to be in control and know how to fix themselves and heal themselves.
Yeah. Like this whole message is a message of hope. It's a message of empowerment and giving people like a sense that they, no matter what they have going on, that there is a way out, and fasting might be the one part of that way out, but there's other things they can do as well. It's like the big message is we all have the ability to heal. It's just we just need to get out of the way. We need to first understand what we need to do. We need someone to teach us, but then we are ultimately in the driver's seat, and we can do it ourselves. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for sharing this amazing experience.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm stoked to share that message.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people learn so much out of this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for sharing. Thank you for listening.
Yep.
And this is the end of this episode.